Hey everyone, this is Nic LaRue from FilmSnobbery. I am here at Panic Fest. I'm downstairs in the little bar area at Rewind Video. This place is actually really cool. It takes me like right back to my childhood because I'm from the East Coast. We have basements, and minus the all it's missing is like a puddle of water in the corner, like where the foundation is leaking. But other than that, like spot on. But I'm here talking to filmmakers and having a great time here so far. And I have a young person sitting next to me, and I would love for her to talk to me about her movie. What do you got going on here?
My name is Michelle Iannantuono. I am based in Charleston, South Carolina. So we don't have basements, or else they would just be a swamp. And I'm here with my feature film, LIVESCREAMERS.
Let's go ahead and tell me a little bit, because we were talking a little bit upstairs about this, and I was in because of I love the aesthetic that you were bringing to it. So tell us a little bit about your film and kind of how it came about.
So LIVESCREAMERS is actually a sequel to a movie made in 2018 called Livescream. Both of them are screen life found footage movies that have very strong video game component. One of them is a Twitch stream sort of screen life movie, and this one, LIVESCREAMERS, is more like a YouTube Let's Play. So you have webcams going on a bunch of multiplayer gamers who are all in the same room together. They work for Janus Gaming Studios, which is kind of like a Rooster Teeth, kind of like a Funhouse, kind of like a Defy Media kind of like situation where you have a bunch of content creators who like are independent but still like work together, in a studio, and they're all playing a multiplayer horror game, and it starts to go a little deadly because the game isn't what they think that it is. But more than that, it is also, as somebody who's been doing this as my living for the past few years, and YouTube and Twitch and all this sort of stuff, as a filmmaker, I hate the word content creator, but I guess that's what I am. I've experienced a lot of things with the audience, and so this is kind of, I like to say it's kind of like my Twitter drafts put into a screenplay, because I had a lot to say about some of the things that I've witnessed, some of the things that I've experienced on that side of things, whereas the first movie, Livescream, in 2018, that was kind of me from the audience perspective. So there was like a lot of reverence for the relationship between the audience and the creators. Whereas this one, it's like, oh no, there's a lot of issues there, and there's also a lot of issues in relationships between streamers and other streamers. So that's kind of where you get the multiplayer element of it too, where like you've got the interpersonal relationships between all the characters is really significant and has a lot to say.
As someone who does a Twitch stream every week that no one watches, I absolutely appreciate that. But also, what you're telling me, I'm shocked, I hear you, to hear that, like, as a woman on the internet, that you have problems, that maybe even there's the baddies out there that may have something like any person, but specifically girl, woman, whatever, that is online and doing any sort of like, playing video games on camera or doing any type of streaming at all for any reason, good on you, because Jesus, I'm a pretty whatever. I'm a big guy. I'm bald. I'll do all my self-effacing stuff. But like being a girl and being on the internet these days is like nothing to be envious about. So what are some of the experiences or things that you have experienced that you said like that's going in the script?
So it's funny, it's like, it's not the obvious stuff, because even though there is a character in the movie named Gwen who is like, she's like an ex-cosplayer who wants to like be taken seriously as a creator, so she joins this gaming team, but then like the head of the group, who is like a 40-year-old man, basically only puts her in situations where she is objectified and all that sort of stuff. That's actually the thing I relate to the least. Like, Gwen was the character that I struggled with the most to write, because she was one of the few that I hadn't personally experienced that. I am not a traditionally, like, I'm not like a hot girl on the internet. So like the way that misogyny kind of manifests for me in online spaces is that I'm just ignored. Like that's kind of how misogyny affects me more than anything, is that it's just like people just aren't interested in what I have to say. They would much rather watch an attractive man. They would much rather think a man is funny. I'm just kind of like, it's kind of like the women can't be funny like paradox with me, more so than it's like dick pics in the DMs. And so the stuff that actually went in from my own life, is a little bit more unconventional. There's some relationships that are talked about with the fans, like some boundary crossing things that fans do to the creators, like trauma dumping and that sort of stuff, where it's like trying to treat like people like they're your therapist, unsolicited, or like treating creators like they're your friend or like you personally know them, even though you've never actually met and you're strangers. As well as the fact that, like, even though it's a 40-year-old man that runs the company, I actually kind of put a lot of myself into that character because, I manage Octopunk, and I have a lot of, even though I'm a single member company and whatever, obviously I've hired a lot of actors, I've hired a lot of people, I've worked with a lot of people publicly over the years, and it is this sort of like almost like weird popularity contest that happens internally with a lot of, and not only popularity, but also like who gets the credit for the thing. A lot of times like fans or audience members will like give actors the credit for like making the thing, and it's just like sometimes the actors have to point back and be like, no, actually, like this queer woman like did all the post-production, and like we just showed up for a week and did the thing. She's been with this for a year. Like this wouldn't exist without her. So yeah, like I feel Mitch's pain a lot about like, putting in so much work into this thing that is like your company, your baby, and then like it's just sort of swallowed up by like all the other people in front of you. So stuff like that kind of was my own diss track that kind of went into it.
No, totally, I get it. Now, and one of the other things we were talking about is you said you built a lot of the gaming elements using the Unity engine and stuff like Unreal. Unreal Engine. Shout out to Unreal. Come on, those my Quake 2 days. The question is, though, is when you were developing this and the script and all that, did you feel like you ended up having to almost kind of create two different, like you have the movie, but now it's almost like, oh shit, I'm also a game creator at the same time?
So with the first live scream, it was much more obvious that I was, even though the movie has like heart and things to say, it's also a show reel of like video game Easter eggs. It's a bunch of homages. It's meant to be a love letter to the games themselves. With this one, the game is more of a mechanism to tell the story of Janus Gaming and to tell the story of these characters and to share their interpersonal dramas and all that sort of stuff. So even though like, I would say it's like Resident Evil is like the big influence. Until Dawn is the big influence. You have some like macro influences on this one cohesive game, and then you'll have sections where it's like, oh, it's a little nonary games, it's a little keep talking and nobody explodes, it's a little simulacra, but it's less about like the point and look at the video games and be like, oh, I recognize that, and like I know this one, I know this level, whatever. It's more like, what gameplay elements have I experienced in the past as a gamer and as a viewer of Let's Plays that I really latched onto, and that I think could be a cool narrative device to tell this character's story, or to like expose this character's dirty laundry, or to put this character in a position where they're going to have to like make a difficult choice for them. So yeah, it was a different approach to this, to building the game for this. It was always like, it was much more in service of the characters and story in this one than it was in the first one, which the first one was kind of like a list of like games that I wanted to kind of homage.
Let's talk a little bit about making movies outside of a place that is not Los Angeles. I have to imagine that, you're not filled with all of the resources in the world at your disposal, and that, what are some of the challenges that you went through? How did you kind of overcome those? And, where did you see your biggest allies and your biggest help coming from?
So I don't think finding talent is hard in Charleston, South Carolina. I think there's plenty of talent there. I have an incredible DP who actually didn't work on really with this. She did BTS for me, but there was no DP in this movie. It was a bunch of webcams set up, and it was the same setup for the whole time. But like, I regularly work with my DP, Rachel Summers. She's out of Greenville, South Carolina. My photographer, Selena O'Day, is based out of Greenville. My assistant director and one of the lead actors of this movie, MJ Slide.
I love MJ.
Do you know MJ Slide?
I've known MJ for 16 years.
That's crazy. I'm like, man, we gotta like. I felt like we had kind of a good. How do you know MJ?
I have known MJ since they were living in New York. No, LA for a little while. I think I reviewed either something they did or
Quartet.
It was so long ago. I don't even remember. But it was so weird. I was Googling MJ Slide probably less than 6 months ago, going like, because I was going through like a bunch of people, like, oh, you know, where are the people that I used to come on to Film Snobbery Live all the time and sit in our chat rooms and sit in, you know, this and that, whatever thing, and you don't know, because people get out of the industry for the weirdest reasons. Sometimes it's life, sometimes it's whatever, and I know that, you know, they've been around for, you know, like, I see them pop up every so often, and it's so crazy to think that they're down in freaking South Carolina now. Not that I can say anything. I went from Massachusetts to LA to Tennessee back to Massachusetts. So
not to derail too much, but like, so MJ is originally from South Carolina, from Greenville, did some time in LA, now lives in Detroit. Has been living in Detroit for a few years, but they are one of the lead actors in Live Screamers.
Oh my God!
Yeah, and they've been nominated at Nevermore for Best Supporting Actor, which was or Best Supporting Performance, which was a really, really cool thing to see. Like, it's a great performance. Like, it's their character Dice is probably my favorite character to write in the movie, but I also like wrote it for them, like, because MJ's my best friend. So like I knew that I wanted to like write a role for them. So as like a non-binary asexual black like actor, like they had kind of only ever written for themselves. And they also have like a feature coming out that's like that they've been working on a feature for like 4 years. So like review that when that comes. That's called E is 4. It's going to hit the festival circuit this summer.
I'm so excited for that. Like, you have no idea. Like, to hear that name, that they're still out there and they're still like working and doing stuff. Like, that makes me so happy. It's weird because I have this weird relationship with a lot of people from Film Snobbery from back in the day specifically, because most of them I've known or have been in contact with we've been around since 2008, so 16 years. Some of them I'm just meeting. Like, I met a gentleman who has been following us from almost day one. I met him for the first time in Boston at the Boston Underground Film Festival like 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago. And so, you know, like, MJ, I don't think I've ever met in person, unless I might have met them in New York. I might have met them in New York, but or maybe once in LA at something. I'm really trying to rack my brain, because you go to so many places you can't figure it out. But anyway, my point of that is just that, like, it's so interesting to you know, like, in terms of this industry of, like, you know, how people crop back in. Oh my God, it's so fantastic. I love it. I'm very happy to hear that. Is it difficult working with you know, like, webcam technology for something where you really need the consistency and you know, non-pixelization, dropout, stuff like that, kind of the quality control of like a regular camera?
So a lot of that is software. So I used OBS Studio, which is made for streaming. So it's pretty robust when it comes to capturing things. If you like do a fixed frame rate, do a fixed resolution, like, you can kind of do all those settings. And it was just better to shoot it actually on webcams than to try to like fake it with like a DSLR because of battery life. Like with, and I experienced that with the first live scream too. I was like, well, I could set up my C100 and shoot this, but then I have to worry about battery life. Then I have to worry about continuous recording, all this sort of overheating, all that sort of stuff. And it's like, a webcam is meant for this. A webcam can go for 8 hours. And so, yeah, and we use the Logitech Brio, which is a 4K webcam. So we rented like 8 of them, which they retail for like $250. So, yeah, we just rented a bunch of them, and then we used Shure SM7Bs for the audio and ran them all into a mixer with like a bunch of fucking cloud lifters. And my sound guy, Dries Vandenberg, did a really good job of like keeping all of that straight and recording really good audio. So, yeah, it wasn't too hard. It was the challenging part was to figure out how to monitor all the performances simultaneously through the webcams, because I was like, how am I going to watch what you guys are recording when you all have your own laptops and webcams and stuff and you're all recording on your own computers? And the answer to that was to network everybody on a LAN, like,
And basically LAN stream.
Basically Zoom call.
Yeah.
I put them all in a Zoom call and made sure the internet was stable by LANing it, and so I could monitor them in gallery mode, and that's how I actually monitored all of their performances every time we took a take.
Another reason why I'm really enjoying this conversation is because I come from a technology background. So I was a network engineer before I got into film, and one of the reasons why we were really successful out of the gate back in like 2008, 2009 was because I got into live streaming back when no one was really doing it. I was kind of ground floor. explore. I got to go speak at MIT about it. And so, like, to hear, like, how far that has come and how, people are using that now to even, integrating all that kind of stuff with their films and all that kind of stuff is, like, it blows me away in terms of, like, the ingenuity of of an independent filmmaker and stuff like that, figuring, like, if I do this, I can get this result. And I like that kind of reverse engineering aspect of it. That's really great. In terms of some of the marketing for the movie, have you, aside from obviously marketing the performances and the posters, and you have your usual marketing things, how does it work with the game aspect of it, of what they're playing? Have you tried to, like, leak little parts of that as part of your marketing strategy, be like, well, there's this great game, and then, like, it becomes a viral market thing that goes back to the movie, or especially because it's like a sequel type of situation?
So I'm trying to promote the characters more because, like, the game itself, because it's so homage-y, people, like, I've got a lot of reviewers who are like, I wish I could play House of Souls, and I'm like, go play Resident Evil. That's what, like, you don't need to play House of Souls, just go play Resident Evil or Until Dawn, or any of the other games that are sort of like they are better versions of anything I can make, I promise. But I have JaniceGaming.com, and as well as at Janice Gaming on Instagram, and what I've done is I've taken a bunch of BTS from the set where the actors were goofing off between takes, or maybe even while we were rolling, but they don't, like, either fully break character or say anybody's real name, and I present these little vignettes as actually, like, Janice Gaming behind the scenes, and, like, and then I pretend like it's them. I pretend like it's Gwen and Dice and Nemo and, like, all of the characters, and it's like, this is basically the social media for the fake gaming studio and for the fake gaming company. So I do have that a little bit. I kind of want to build a little bit of an ARG into JaniceGaming.com and, like, basically have it like a chat bot come up and be like, hey, can I help you with anything? And then, like, it's haunted or some shit.
I would love that.
Yeah, well, like, I don't know. We'll see how much time I have to actually put into that. But, yeah, I think that's kind of the angle for me is, like, I think people are going to walk away from the movie really liking the characters and wanting to see more of them, even the ones who die. So I'm exploring options of, like, here's more content of these people and, like, bringing people in kind of that way.
I would love to see kind of that ARG element that you were just talking about, like a chatbot thing where it, because you can set up for, I have a chatbot on our site, so, like, you can set up email triggers and stuff like that from that and all that, and it just get those emails becoming more and more sinister as it goes along, and it's like, where does the fun stop and the stalking, cease and desist parts begin? Yeah, no, I think that's fantastic. Where are you heading to next after this?
I'm heading to Salem Horror next at the end of the month, and I'm really excited to go. It's my first time. I've heard nothing but great things. It's super queer, angry, and leftist, which is what LiveScreamers is. So, yeah, I'm really excited to check out weekend one. I don't know what day I'm screening, but I will be there pretty much the whole weekend one, and excited to see some movies.
Well, that'll be fantastic. Hopefully I'll see you there, because that's my neck of the woods, and I have to talk to Kay about maybe some press credentials, but outside of that, you're an hour and a half drive from my house, so, like, I'll just probably go. So I think that'll be fun. Good luck on that. I mean, I'm looking forward to. Unfortunately, I was in another block when your movie was screaming. When it was screaming.
I've done it for 6 years, and I'll keep doing it.
while it was screaming, but I do have I believe I have a link for it. So if I don't, well, I know who to talk to. So it's something that's on my radar to definitely watch and check out. So I really appreciate it. Now that I know MJ's in it, shit, now I have to. Otherwise, I would be a bad, like, internet friend. So I appreciate that. And, no, thank you. And I appreciate you chatting with me for a bit. And good luck on the rest of your festival circuit.
Thank you.